Well, this is Blair with JBJ Outdoors. If you can see, I'm getting ready on processing my elk I killed the other day. Now these are the loins. This one loin was 44 inches long. And you can see how pretty the meat is off the loin. The loin's up on top of the ribs, and if you cut the T-bone, this would be the eye of the T-bone. If it was a pig, you'd call it a pork chop. The thing you need to make sure of is you got some good sharp knives and a good stone to keep them sharp. And a cloth or rag to make sure you clean the edges before you start sharpening your knives so you don't get all that grease in the... I'm just trying to get a little bit of the extra silver skin or fat off here. It'll help make your meat taste a lot better. Anytime you kill wild game, if you leave the fat or the bone in it, you're going to get a lot more gamey taste to it. If it was beef, a lot of times you'll boil the bones so you can get a good beef broth, but you boil the bones on a elk, deer, moose, caribou, whatever, you'll get a definite different flavor if you're used to beef. Well, make sure you keep that clean. I worked in a butcher shop a time or two, and even beef I've seen come through that had some hair on it. Because no matter what, you're cutting that skin. This one, it's really clean. So now we'll start cutting some of these steaks. I'm trying to cut them about 3/4 of an inch. See how pretty that steak is? That's fit for Blair. So, I sent a text out to my children this morning to see who wanted some elk steaks and who wanted some elk burger. So, I gotta make sure I get enough steaks for each of the kids and their families. I'll show you shortly how I wrap my meat. When you're trimming, you make sure you have a junk pile for your fat and a good pile for your scrap meat you're going to make jerky. Or I'm just impressed how nice they are. Of course, this was a big bowl, so just such a pretty meat. Gotta keep them in piles of 4. Like I said, this would be like a pork chop, or I have a T-bone. In fact, sometimes they call it a New York. I guess every time somebody cooks it up, they want to change the name so it sounds more expensive. I like a good steak. I like a roast. I still like a hamburger about as well as anything. Like I Said before, if you hear water running in the background, I put a sprinkler on top of my covered grape arbor to help cool it down a little bit. Yesterday here in Utah it was 106, in some areas 107. That wasn't in St. George. Just way too hot. It's even cooking my onions in the garden in spots. If these sharpening stones get all gooped up, you can take some Dawn dish soap and rub it right in the stone and then hurry and wash it off, and that'll clean a lot of that metal fragments and goop out of them. If you're going to process your own meat, you need to make sure to have patience, because it's not a fast job. And if you want to have somebody else take care of it, you need to make sure to get it to the meat locker as quick as you can. If it's an elk, moose, something big, especially this hot, you need to make sure to quarter it out so you can get the heat out of it. Some people think that if they've been hunting deer, they're ready to hunt an elk. They're not. The one shoulder of meat yesterday, if I'm making jerky meat out of a deer, a 2-point or something that size, I get between 18 and 20 pounds of meat off of a 2-point. A 4-point, you get between 35 and 40 pounds of meat off a good 4-point. Well, that front shoulder and one of them loins I cut up last night came to 44 pounds of meat. So you can tell how much more it weighs. I think I'm just gonna play with this a little bit. Yeah. Making a nice little flaming on. Like I said before, if you want a good steak, wild game, take and put some cooking bacon grease. Try that one time. You might like it, which I really like, or you might not care for it. Just a really, like I said before, beautiful piece of meat. Another bit of advice, never cook meat in a microwave. If you got some Dutch oven cast iron frying pans like I've got in my cooking area right around here. I've got 2 Camp Chef stoves and 2 Camp Chef grill boxes. I just love the grill boxes. And then if I want a smoky taste, I'll go to one of the local orchards and I'll get some of the small apple limbs and I'll cut them in discs and I'll put them in the bottom of my grill box, get the wood going and smoking, and then turn my heat down on my stove, and it'll make a good smoke on that. Now you can't feel how cold this is, but it sure makes the cutting a lot nicer when the meat's cold. If it gets warm at all, it's pretty miserable. Like I said before, well, maybe I didn't. If this was a T-bone, you'd want this in because this is the meaty part of the T-bone. On the other side of the bone is where all the ribs are. Go off that big loin. Let's see how many steaks I got. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 times 4. Well, that'd be what? 72 steaks. And most of them's good 3/4 of an inch. Well, I'm gonna get ready to wrap the meat. I'll